Welcome to the Queen Elizabeth Academy. Hi, everyone. My name is Angela, and I'm a teacher at QEA. I'm very happy to have Madhavan here to share his tips to be successful in high school.
Thank you for having me.
Of course, just to give a bit of his background, Madhavan recently got into the Doctor of Osteopathic Medicine program at New York Tech University. He also got into the neuroscience program at the University of Pittsburgh with a $50,000 scholarship. This is all due to the fact that he scored in the 97th percentile on the SATs and has all A pluses in his high school grades. Actually, Madhavan is only in grade 11 and he has completed his high school and he's graduating this June. Madhavan is one of our top students at the Queen Elizabeth Academy. He came to us since grade 10 and we are very proud to have him here today. This interview is intended to give very practical tips to students on how to study and become successful, and of course, as inspiration. We are in the middle of the pandemic right now, and our interview filming is still done online. So, Madhavan, thank you for joining me. A lot of students are watching right now, and one thing we all want to know is how do you achieve such high grades in high school?
So I think there's three important parts to getting a good mark. So the first thing you need to do is figure out what your study plan is. So for me, the best thing that I do is take all the text that I learned from the classroom, the textbook, and my own notes, and I compile it into short bullet points. And that way, I think this is the best method because it helps me understand the concepts and being able to describe it in my own words. The second thing that I would mention is always communicate with your teacher. So, this could be anything that you want. So, including, giving your assignments or essays in earlier, asking for tips. And this way, you'll not only get a boost in your assignment mark, but also it can help you in the future as you'll start to know, like, what kind of requirements that your teacher is looking for in order to get an A plus. Another thing that I would mention is scheduling. Always planning ahead. And since grade 11 and grade 12 students have a lot of assignments thrown at them, the best thing to do is always plan ahead and scheduling so you know exactly what to do and when to do it.
Do you have goals and how do you set them?
So yeah, I usually have a lot of goals at once, short term and long term. I think one example would be last semester during the pandemic. Before the pandemic started, I had an 88 average in chemistry, and I wasn't really happy with the mark. So I talked to the teacher, set down some groundwork. Like I didn't like my 88. I wanted to improve it, and I asked him what I needed to do, what there was still left to be done, and as I talked, I started learning more and more about what I needed to do to achieve at least a 93 average. And my teacher told me that unless I get near perfect on almost every single assignment, it would be almost impossible for me to get above a 93. And at first, I was demoralized, but I wanted to do better. So I set my goal. I looked over my notes over and over again, went over homework questions, asked for feedback all the time. And I always thought about getting at least a 93. And when my mark finally came, I didn't just get a 93, but I got a 94 average. And I think that's just a testament to what you can do when you set goals, set concrete goals, and just always keep them in your head.
What are some of your long term goals?
So my long-term goal is something that I've been working for a really long time, and that is becoming a physician. It's something that I've worked for like most of my life, and this year I'll be pursuing it even further by becoming an undergraduate student with the neuroscience major. And I think the key to any long-term goal, no matter whether it be 5 years or 20 years, is to always keep it at the forefront of your mind. And, this could include, just always thinking about it. And, what I do is I put a piece of paper on my wall and I just write physician in big words. And I always add new ideas to it. And one example of this is I've always been a writer ever since I was a kid, and I've been developing that talent throughout my entire schooling. And one day I was thinking about my goal, and it came to me that I should write a published poetry book with the charity and the funds going from it to help kids with neurological disorders. This way, I was not only able to further my goal, but I was also able to contribute to my community and even push my goal in a new direction as I started to realize that I want to pursue my goal to become a physician in the field of neuroscience. So I think that shows like when you keep your goal at the forefront of your mind and always find new ideas and new ways to pursue it, you can not only achieve your goal, but you can even push it in new directions and new pathways.
Wow, that's amazing. At the Queen Elizabeth Academy, a lot of our students are motivated. We really believe that motivation is more important than how smart you are. This is so important that we run the extra mile to achieve it. What drives you and what motivates you?
So I think one technique that I've developed over the years is called visualizing, and it's something that a lot of the top athletes use. And I actually got it from watching an old Kobe interview. And what I do is I analyze every concrete step of the goal that I want to achieve. And when I do, I visualize completing that goal. So, for example, I do want to become a physician, as I mentioned before. And so what I do is I lay out a concrete plan on how to do it. So this could include, getting a good GPA in high school. So studying, finding new study habits to achieve that. Then going to a good university, getting a new good GPA there too. And, getting a good score on the MCAT. I practice like how to write standardized testing, overcome my fears, and then matching into a good medical school, getting into a good residency, and then eventually becoming a physician at a high specialty at a good university at a good hospital. And maybe the goal might not come exactly as I plan it out, but by visualizing it and by knowing exactly what I need to do, I can become that much closer and that much more motivated to do the goal.
That's a very great technique. Another question: how do you organize your time?
So I think that this is an issue that a lot of high schoolers need to know is that how to organize your time properly. And I think some of the things that I've learned is there are two important things to do when organizing your time, and that's scheduling and prioritizing. So for me, I always plan my work at least a week ahead, and in doing so, I'd lay out, an Excel sheet, and I'd have all the assignments that I need to do, all the work that needs to be completed. And I'd have it on there and lay it out so I know exactly what to do. And then, but for example, I have an assignment or a test and all of them overlapping on the same day. That's when you need to prioritize and strategize to know which ones come first. And I think a good example of that is like even last week, for example, I was taking day school and night school, and I had a day school assignment due at 12 midnight, but I had a night school test at 6 p.m. And both assignment and tests are equally important, but I knew to strategize and prioritize the test above the assignment because not only is it closer, but I would spend more time studying for the test so that I could finish it early and then work on my assignment so that way I could finish both on time and to the best of my ability.
Is there a certain time that you're overwhelmed? How do you manage your stress?
So yeah, this is something that happens to pretty much everyone I know, me included. Um, High school can always be a stressful time, and it's easy to get overwhelmed by the coursework and all of the things that I do. And I think the best way to manage that is to focus on something that you like to do other than schoolwork. So it could be a sports or a hobby. For me, it's archery. I'm actually a professional archer, nationally ranked in India, and I always try to take time to clear my mind to focus on archery. And when I'm doing it, I have this method of focusing all my emotional burdens and my stress on the arrow. And as I let it go and it hits the target, it feels like I'm being lifted of all the stress. And when eventually I come back to do my work, my mind is so much clearer because I know I've done things like pulling all-nighters and working 8 or 7 hours a day. And while it may seem like a good idea, the more you do it, the more your productivity just goes down. So whenever you just take some time and take a break and divert your mind to something else, you can always come back more clear and more fresh.
How do you perform in a test?
So I think studying is always an important way to perform in a test. But I think another thing is managing your time during the test. So I have a neat trick where I label each question A, B, and C. A being the easiest questions, as soon as you see the question, you can answer it. B being questions that you know how to do, but you just take a little bit of time to like answer the question and write down the steps. And C being questions that you just don't know how to do or you need more time to think about. And I think labeling it that way, just taking a few minutes, would just help you become more clear and strategize on how to perform on the test. Another thing that happens to a lot of people, me included, is just stumbling on a question where you don't know what to do or how to answer it. And I think the best thing to do during those times is to just skip the question and answer all the other questions and eventually come back to it if you have time. So when you come back to it, if you still just don't know what to do, I would suggest just writing down whatever you know or whatever is relevant to the question. So at least you may get part marks or half marks on steps because I know a lot of teachers do that, and so at least you won't get a zero on that question.
Finally, what advice would you give to our other students who want to get into their dream university?
So yeah, this is something that I've learned a lot as I go through the application process myself. And I think a lot of universities are just looking for genuine people. You know, like once your mark reaches a certain level or your SAT score is as high as it can get, universities just want people who they know will contribute to their university and their community. And I think you can do this by showcasing your own character, you know, following your passions like extracurriculars, but also like writing really good essays because I know a lot of medical science programs and a lot of business programs, both here in Canada and in the United States, have essays. And that's where you can truly shine, showcasing your personality and who you are and why you'd be a good fit to their university.
Thank you so much for your time, Madhavan. It was really good to have you. Best of luck of your studies next year, and I'm sure you will achieve all your wonderful goals. Bye.
Nice.